afternoon, Audrey,
Hi, Peggy.
and thank you so much for coming on to share your story and experience. So, for those watching who may not know who Audrey is, I'll just read a short bio on her so you can get an idea of who she is and what she has accomplished so far in the creative space. Um, so her full name is Audrey Obuobisa-Darko. She's a Ghanaian fiction writer based in the United States and is a graduate of the Iowa Writers Workshop. She won the 2022 Dream Foundry Contest for Emerging Writers and was a finalist for the 2025 Epiphany Breakout Prize. Her work has been supported by the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts and the Truman Capote Fellowship. You can find her stories in Epiphany Magazine, Smokelong Quarterly, that's the Pushcart Prize Nomination, Isele Magazine, and elsewhere. So Audrey teaches creative writing at the University of Iowa and is a fiction editor at NENTA Literary Journal. Thank you once again for
Yeah,
coming on here.
thank
Um,
you, Peggy.
yeah. How long was so I'll just call the MFA Creative Writing Scholarship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you find out about the scholarship and when did the applications open? When did it close? And then, yeah.
Okay, yes, I've been writing for quite some time, and how I found out about the MFA was I was doing a workshop that Writers Project Ghana organizes. So definitely check out Writers Project. You know, they do the Pija Literary Festival.
Yes,
So
yes.
they have a yearly online masterclass slash workshop called the Moisa Writing Workshop. So I joined that, I did that, and then they assign you with mentors and you workshop stories and stuff like that. So one of my mentors over there, Mamli Wulu, she was like, "Oh, you're good. Have you ever considered doing an MFA?" I'm like, "What is an MFA?" She's like, "Oh, you can actually go and then try to get a master's in creative writing, and that can be good for later if you want to get published or if you want to enter the teaching world in English and creative writing and stuff." And so she connected me to somebody that she knew who had just completed the school. And then I talked to them, and then we started working on my application from there. And at the time, I was still in university. At the time, I was at Ashesi. I was studying computer science, but I just knew that I wanted to change the path, really. So at the time, this was 2022 when I was doing the workshop, or 2021 actually. And so we decided to start preparing my application for the 2022 cycle. But then what happened was I had to take a break from school, and then I eventually applied the end of 2022 to get into the school 2023. So usually for the MFA applications, applications for most schools usually open the end of the year around September, October, November. Deadlines usually being December 15th is usually the deadline for many of the schools. Um, so I did my applications and stuff and eventually submitted it around December of 2022. And then I heard back from the school in February. Usually, most schools will get back to you the next year, February, March, April being the worst case scenario. But between February, March, April, you should know your standing when you apply and your stuff by December. Yeah, so February next year, that was the next year, 2023. I heard back, and I was still, I was still in school doing my undergrad, finishing up my applications. But I think once I got my acceptance, I just knew that, oh, now I just need to finish my final project and go.
Yes, yes. Okay, so was it like a separate application to the university and a separate application to the scholarship, or it was an all-in-one something? Yeah.
It's usually an all-in-one thing. So the way
Okay.
most of the good thing, the way the most of the creative writing programs are designed is most of them are fully funded. There are
Okay.
some where to give you a partial scholarship, and I think we'll talk about that a little later on. But
Okay.
then a lot of the ones, especially in the USA, already come with full funding. And the full funding can take many different forms. It can either be a fellowship that you will get for maybe a year, or in exchange for the scholarship, you have to be a TA. So the way mine was designed was I got the full funding, but then what it was, the program is 2 years. So my first year, I got the Truman Capote Fellowship. So when you get a
Okay.
fellowship like that, you don't have to teach or anything. You just kind of have time and space to write and
Mhm.
to go to class for that. And then in your second year, you get a teaching assistantship. So you teach like undergrad creative writing classes or rhetoric or any other type of English teaching class. And that's sort of what supplements your staying there. And then so they cover your tuition and stuff like that. And they also give you a little stipend to take care of yourself every month. And usually for international students, you are not allowed to work because you're on a student visa. You're not allowed to work. So it helps that they give you a fellowship maybe for 1 year or
Mm.
with a teaching assistantship, and that's sort of what you're allowed to do.
Mm.
And you also are allowed to have on-campus jobs or student jobs,
Okay.
but
Okay.
not really anything outside of that. So yeah, that's how
Okay.
I for the 2 years. Some people come in and then they are made to teach right in their first semester. You have TA-ship from
Mm.
first semester to your fourth semester. I was lucky enough to not have to do that because the
Mm.
transition from Ghana to coming here and then immediately teaching, and I had never really had teaching experience before,
Mm.
so I was glad to be able
Yeah.
to have it that.
Okay, that's nice. So, did you know about these fellowships or scholarships before you applied, or they recommended it to you based on your application documents or your application story?
Yeah, so when I was doing the application, I knew the sort of different fellowships and then
Mm.
other assistantships that were available. Usually, when you're about to apply, you kind of have to do some research to see
Mm.
the fellowships that are available and all that. And most of the applications, when you are applying and filling the form, you can choose which fellowships you want to be considered for. Or let's say if you want a TA-ship, you can choose that. If you want a research assistantship, you can choose that. So what I did was I chose fellowship as my first choice, and
Okay.
then assistantship as my second choice, and then research assistantship as my third.
Okay.
So usually in the forms, they will show you all the different kinds, and then you get to choose which ones you want to be considered for.
Okay.
I know that with other sorts of programs, you might have to do a separate application for the
Mm.
fellowship and stuff. But I think, as far as I know, for a lot of creative writing programs, they try to make it as easy as possible where your application is also the scholarship application, or in
Okay.
the same application, you just choose that, oh, I want funding, and then you have funding. I'm yet to
Okay.
find out about any creative writing MFAs that have separate things. But in the US, I think that's the case. Maybe outside of the US, it's a little different. Like
Okay.
University of Anglia, for example, I know some Ghanaians that are there. There's
Mm.
Benjamin Cyril Arthur who's there right now, and then Boachi the Alpha, but he has completed. So those two Ghanaians have been at East Anglia, and their scholarship situation might be a little different. And I do know that with East Anglia, sometimes they will end up giving you just a partial scholarship, and then you have to find your way around it.
So during the application, did you upload any documents? You mentioned you were doing computer science. So how was it like uploading maybe your transcripts that were in computer science? Did it go against you? How did you write any essays? So
Mm-hmm.
what kind of documents did you make for the application? Yeah.
Yeah, so usually for the creative writing MFAs, what they really are concerned about is what you're about to write and your writing
Mhm.
prowess and stuff. Like they
Mhm.
don't really care about where you're coming from or what you studied before or anything, because you could have studied, I don't know, something that's entirely different from creative writing. But so long as your writing sample is strong and
Mhm.
you can
Okay.
write, that's the most important thing. So
Okay.
usually, in the application packets, what they expect is a writing sample and a statement of purpose. I'll get into it. It's like a statement of purpose, sometimes your CV or resume, and then your school transcripts, obviously, because in the end you are doing a master's program. So with the writing sample, we'll start with that. So the writing sample, you are, let's say you're applying to fiction, because I applied to fiction, so that's what I can really speak to. You're applying to the fiction program. You are expected to submit a writing sample of say between 30 to 80 pages. Some schools will maybe give a limit of actually just 30 pages. For University of Iowa, they allow you to submit up to 80 pages. Some of the schools just 25 pages, some of the schools 30, some of the schools 50. But you should expect that the lower level or the lower end of the number of pages will be 25 or 30. And with the writing sample, you can submit, say, two short stories, three short stories, one short story, and then one novel excerpt, one long novel excerpt. Yeah. what I did was I just submitted 2 short stories. And some people also maybe would do or just like one very long novel excerpt, just to show that, oh, this is the work that I am currently working on, and this is the work that I eventually want to have as my thesis and stuff like that. For me, what I suggest or recommend actually is that you submit something that shows your range, right? So let's say if you're already working on a novel, or you have an idea, or you kind of started, I think it helps to maybe have one complete short story and then a novel excerpt. I feel like it's kind of risky to submit just one thing. So people who submit like just one novel excerpt, I'm like, well, that's brave of you. But I think it's good to show your range as to the different kinds of forms of literary fiction that you can do. And that's also because they just want to make sure that, let's say if you end up submitting only one short story, like who's to say that you didn't write this short story 5 years ago and you've never done anything again? They kind of want to see that, you are still in your practice and you're doing stuff. And they do value the short story because they want to be able to see that you are able to carry a narrative from beginning to the end. And if you submit a novel except there isn't really anything that shows that you are able to follow through with a narrative that you have picked up to write, right? So I think it's helpful to include a short story to show that you are able to carry something from beginning to end. And then also, if you have the novel except, you can submit. I didn't have it. I didn't have a novel except to submit, so I didn't do that. I just submitted 2 short stories. And I think also about them allowing you to submit 80 pages. I also think that it's very risky to submit 80 pages because the longer your piece is, the more the chances of it looking weak. That's what I think. That's what I think. I feel like it's better to just select like a few that are very strong and submit that. So I had 2 strong short stories. I submitted that. No, I didn't want any weak loop or anything like that. And 80 pages is human beings that are reading the thing. Like if you are sending 80 pages, if they get tired or annoyed, they are reading so many applications. If they get tired or annoyed at some points, I feel like, that's my 2 cents. If you want to submit 80 pages, I just don't think you need to. I just So that's it for the writing sample. Now for the personal statements. The personal statement is where you talk about yourself, right? Now you've submitted your work, you've been able to show the kinds of things that you are interested in writing about, you showed your writing skill and all that. The personal statement is now where you talk about yourself and talk about your statement as an artist or as a writer. Talk about the work that you have already done. Maybe if you have publications, you can list them there. If you have done maybe any volunteer work in creative writing spaces, you can put that there. You can talk about the fact that, oh, I was coming maybe from a computer science background and now I'm transitioning to creative writing, and talk about the reasons. You can talk about the books that you have read or the kinds of books that you like to read, what motivates you to be a writer, how long you've been writing, and more specifically also the instructors that you want to work with when you come, and the research that you want to do when you come, and your intentions for the MFA and why you are choosing that particular school also for the MFA that you want to do. So you basically in your statements are showing how intentional you are about applying to the thing. It's not that, oh, I just want to apply to a school and leave my country or something like that. You have to be specific about it. These are the kinds of like the points that you have to hit in there. So you have to do a lot of research also about the school specifically. Look at the history of the program that they have, the people that have gone through the program. Maybe if for example, here I listed a few writers that have come here that's whose work I like to read. So I'm like, oh, person and this person came here and I like their work and I want to pass through a system that they also passed.
So there's a lot of research that goes into it.
Exactly, because you have to know where you are going. You have to know where you're going. So you have to and also research into the faculty and kind of see the faculty also what they write, what they also like to work with. So you're like, oh, when I come here, I want to work with this person. When I'm doing I want to work with this person. And then you are not necessarily required to know exactly what you're going to write because you're going to be here for 2 or 3 years. Some programs are 3 years. A lot changes in 3 years, your ideas, or you'll be getting more ideas and things. So they don't really need you to know exactly what you're coming to write. But it helps to just show that you have a vague idea of, oh, maybe when I come, I want to work on some short stories that explore masculinity or sexuality or religion or family. And I have some stories that already explore these things. And I also want to, aside having these short stories, I also want to work on a novel that's da 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 da. And it's fine. Nobody's going to hold a gun to your head if eventually that's not the novel you write. But it's good to show that that is your intention, just to show that you are serious. And then the part about, indicating that I have publications or I've won a prize here, I've done this. It's nice to have it in your application, but no pressure if you don't. And the thing about the MFA also, that's I think very beautiful about MFA is it meets each person where they are at. There are people in my program who have never seen the inside of a creative writing magazine before. Like they don't know what it's like to submit their work anywhere. There's that part of the spectrum. And there are also people in my class who are working on their second novel. So there's a very big range of the kinds of people that come in. But me personally, I do think that it shows that you are serious if you've already maybe submitted to things, like you're kind of in the practice of professional writing as opposed to just writing in your room and keeping the work to yourself. So really, that's it. And then your resume, CV. So then the resume and the CV submission parts. Now, if you have been submitting your work to things, then you now have something to put on your CV. Maybe I volunteered at Peja Literary Festival. I mentored some students. I ran a YouTube channel where we talk about applications. Those things. It helps. And one last thing I should add also is, so then in the period, maybe we'll talk about this later, but in the period of preparing your application, because you have a lot of time. Right now we are in March. Applications are due in December. So it's a good time to start thinking about your thing. You have to start thinking about it early, You have to start thinking about it early with your writing sample. Well, I think I'll talk about this a little later, but I just want to say you have a lot of time to now maybe start submitting your work somewhere so that by the time December comes, maybe you can say that, oh, my work is here, my work is there. I do want to plug in, I'm talking to you, but I do want to plug in that some places that you can submit to if you're a Ghanaian writer. We have I work as an editor at NENTA Literary Journal. I can send you a link. And at NENTA we respond very quickly. We read submissions within 2 weeks. You hear back, so if you are getting published. We are very, very quick because we're just trying to give people the opportunity to have their work read, to possibly get published. We also pay a small money, but we pay a little bit just to kind of give people the sense that you can be a professional writer, if you put your back in. So places like that. So you can look up, and it's very easy to find a list of places to submit to. There are a little higher tier that are harder to get into, places that are easier to get into. Do your research. You just Google African mags to submit to, international magazines to submit to. You find a lot of things to submit to. If you follow Creatives GH or Creatives Projects GH, they always have a list of opportunities that you can apply to. They post on their Instagram, they post on their website, and please submit to NENTA Literary Journal. I'm looking forward to reading anybody's work.
Yeah. So I think I'll put the link in the description box for anyone who is interested in submitting. So we've understood that you don't really need to have like a professional creative writing degree or be a published author to apply, and just be serious about your work, and then have the conscious effort that you have to submit somewhere, or have a professional portfolio of sorts. And so my next question would be, is it fully funded? You mentioned that during the application you can input that you want a fellowship or you want an assistantship. So that do they how will I say, do they give you funding based on the strength of your application? Then that would define whether you will get a fully funded scholarship or a partially funded scholarship. Does it depend on anything like that?
I think before they used to do it like that, where maybe the kind of funding you get is based on the strength of it. But I think now they are really trying as much as possible to make it even and fair to everybody. So like I had mentioned here, like you can apply for what's called choose if you want to do a fellowship or TA and stuff like that. I do know that there's situations where if, say, you are lucky to have gotten into 3 competitive schools and they're all giving you an offer, I've heard that people are able to maybe go to the school that you want and say, oh, this school actually offered me this amount of money, give me more. I know people do that. I don't know if people are still doing that sort of thing, or people are still for if that is still open, but I've heard of situations like that. So that is a situation in which you can probably navigate or like negotiate for more stuff. And but that's it. But I will say honestly, even just still moving as an international student abroad, they are going to fund your thing. They'll pay your tuition, and then if you are lucky, some of the schools will pay your flights. I was lucky enough for my school to pay my flights for me to come, because
Wow,
if they
that's
didn't,
nice.
because it's not the Ghana cities that is paying for that
Yeah,
$1,000, $2,000 flights.
yeah,
Um, some schools don't. You have to raise money, and
yeah,
you probably see, especially around this time when people are moving, you see so many GoFundMe's everywhere.
yeah,
Everybody's raising money for visa, for this, for this. That process is very expensive. That the school is not gonna help you with your visa. I mean, they'll help you obviously, like give you a letter and things to
yeah,
authorize
yeah.
your stuff. But most of the time, you would have to raise that money yourself.
Mm.
And
Okay.
that was like one thing that I'm just going to be honest, like it's something you have to deal with. You know, the
Yeah,
service like $360. The visa is like 150. You have to start packing the money. You have to start the money
yeah,
and pack.
yeah. That's true.
It's not easy. And even me too, when I was coming to, I had to also now raise some money to get the apartment that I'll come and stay in before I'm coming. Because
Okay.
it's not now when you get here that I come to the car. You have to
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
deposit before you come. Some schools have maybe situations where it's like graduate student housing and stuff like that. But a lot of other places, you're coming here to live like a local. So you have to get a house or apartment or share with somebody. So you have to start raising money for those things
yeah,
too. And being in Ghana, you don't have that kind of money.
yeah,
So you have to start thinking about those things early,
yeah.
and then people do GoFundMe's. Some of the schools will help you, maybe even give you a pre-scholarship situation if they are, and when you just tell them, because they also know that people coming from um the places that we are coming from is hard, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes they will help, maybe give you, even don't dash you the money, they'll probably give you a little bit of money to help you get started, and then do
Yeah,
like take it from your
yeah,
scholarship later,
yeah,
things like that. I hope I've finished answering the question, or if there's anything else. I think, yeah, that's pretty much it with so they do fund you and stuff, but then that
yeah,
initial move, it is
yeah,
expensive. It is
yes,
expensive.
that's true. That's true. So you have to explore all your options. Yeah.
You have to be ready for the financial burden,
Mm.
and you also have to be ready for when you get accepted and get started with the visa process, because getting a
Mhm.
visa is a whole
Yeah.
other thing.
Wow.
It's worth it, so it's
Yeah.
actually
If it's
worth
something
it.
you want, you have to go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I think this might be some sort of like a silly question, but is there an age requirement
Oh
to
no,
apply?
it's so crazy. Like the year group that is coming in to my
Mm.
school right now. The year group that's coming to my school right now. There's like an 80-year-old or something. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
range. There's people coming in who just finished their undergrad. Like just like me, I finished undergrad, and in 3 months I
Mm.
was here. There's people who have gone and lived lifetimes doing other
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
now coming back. So there's
Yeah.
no, there's
Oh,
a
okay.
big range. There's a big
Yeah.
range. It's very interesting also, because you get to meet various kinds of
Mm.
people who are approaching writing differently because of where they've reached in life. And
Mm.
so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's nice. There's a
yeah,
lot to also learn from your cohort, how
hmm
their life experiences shape their writing. Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's nothing about the
Mm.
age.
Mm. You also mentioned about like even though it's a creative writing program, it's still like an academic program, so you have to upload your transcripts. Do they really put much weight on academic excellence? Like it only has to be from second class upper going, something like that.
No.
Okay.
Well, most, you see, yeah, that's the thing. So I cannot speak for all schools, but I know that
Mm,
most
okay.
programs, but many programs as I know, don't care
Mm,
about that. The main thing they
okay.
read first is your writing sample.
Okay.
Second thing they read is the personal statement. Then they look
Okay.
at your put that stuff together. Because I think also something about writers is like you're probably even good at writing and creative things, but maybe with other things like being in schools, you can't really do that. So I think
Mm,
it's kind of unfair to base your application
on
on your grades. Do you see?
yeah,
But it's just you still would have to upload your transcripts because you're
yeah,
applying to an educational institution, so they like
yeah.
to have that. And then yeah, you have to make sure also that your undergrad institution is helping you actually get
Yeah.
the transcript submits.
Yeah. On time.
Exactly. And aside that, you do need recommenders. You need letters of recommendation
Okay.
also.
Okay.
That one, so you have to get on it very quickly because some of
Mm,
these Ghana University
yeah.
professors they be
So
taking a
is
lot
it
of.
like you just put your recommenders email, then they will email the recommenders
No,
or
you yourself will have to. We wish it
uh
was. You have to chase down your recommender to give a letter. Just that the university will send a
mm,
link to
mm,
you. So you put in the email and then they'll send a link to the professor, and then the professor will upload the letter themselves. But they
yes,
do have to
yes.
write. They do have to write a letter. It
Okay.
won't be a phone call or
Yes.
something. You have to write a letter, and you have to get like those letters in quickly.
Yeah.
You have to start asking your recommenders at least 3 months
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, it's true. And there's this trick I also had when I was also applying. You have to like most of them are busy, so you have to give them like a structure on what to talk about and what you've accomplished so
Like
that
I
they
even
can,
writing a letter for them.
yeah, because if you just leave it up to them, they can just write some three lines and leave
True,
it at that. It's so
true. Yeah,
so you have
it's
to give
very
them a whole structure. Oh, can you talk about this? I've done this. Can you add it here?
yeah,
And just
yeah, yeah.
guide them to
Yeah,
write
yeah. I mean,
something. Yeah.
you like they are doing it for you. So
Yeah.
like, I will not leave it to you for you to just go and write it. It's my
Yeah,
application.
yeah,
I can't
yeah,
just
yeah.
transfer it, but I will tell you
Yes.
what to
Yeah. What
write.
to write is true. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, chasing them down to like
Mm.
ahead of time.
So I think before we turned on the recording, we were writing down a list of schools that are options that people could also look at. Could you mind brushing on that?
Let me just. So I wrote a small list down. So, well, my school is the University of Iowa. The program is
Mm,
the Iowa Writers Workshop, and the Iowa
mm,
Writers Workshop it has fiction and it has poetry.
okay.
There's also within the school. There's also the non-fiction writing program. That is
Okay.
within the university. It's not at the Iowa Writers Workshop. So if you're interested in non-fiction, you have to look at that one separately.
Okay.
But all under University of Iowa. So that's the first school, University of Iowa / Iowa Writers Workshop. You can also look at Johns Hopkins University. They have a very good writing program as well. I think people know
Okay.
Johns Hopkins for their medical stuff, but they have a very good.
Mm,
I think
okay.
Amanda went there. I think
Okay.
yeah. So Johns Hopkins is good. University of Tennessee, Knoxville. University of Tennessee also has a good program.
Mm,
Brown University has a good program. Brown. Chapman University. There's a Ghanaian that was there before. Chapman was, I think Hene Chirekweku, he's a poet. I think Hene Chire was at Chapman University. So
okay.
Chapman University. Texas has a bunch of schools. There's a bunch. If you just look up Texas universities for creative writing MFS, you'll see maybe 2 or 3 different programs that are in
Mm,
Texas.
okay.
George Mason University is in Virginia. That's also that's a school you could consider. And then East Anglia that I had mentioned. East Anglia is in the UK, but I've mentioned it because I know that there are some Ghanaians who have
Yeah.
gone there.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice to go. So this is like a list of places that I know there are people.
Mm.
Oh, Cornell. Have I mentioned Cornell University?
No, you didn't mention. Okay.
Cornell University is in upstate New York also.
Mm.
That's also a good school. They have some African writers also on their faculty, so that's can be nice to have because
Mm.
sometimes it can be difficult to go to a place where it's just largely white. The thing about
Yeah.
my was very largely white. I mean, Iowa is in
Mm.
a very largely white community, but it
Mm.
is cool. So I think I just went mostly because I know it's a good school. I'll get what I need from here.
Mm.
Um, so that was fine. And the program at Iowa too is a very big program. Every cohort each year has about 50 people,
Wow.
25 fiction, 20 poetry, 20 to 25 people in poetry. So,
Mhm.
and it's 2 years. So at every point in time, we have almost 100 people at a time. And
Mm.
that is good, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for having a diverse cohort and
Yeah.
things like that. You have to look into all of these and see, like, do you want to go to a place like, do you mind going to a place like Iowa that is in the middle of nowhere, so many white people, you will not have fun, but you get to write and it's a good school? Or do you want to go to a place that has maybe a lot of black people? You have to
Yeah.
consider
Yeah. Weigh
all of
your options. Yeah.
you want to go somewhere that is cold? Do you want to go somewhere that is warm? Because it's very important to consider. Because here, for example, it's very cold. It can be very depressing, especially if you haven't moved anywhere. I have not come to the US. I had not come to the US
Mm.
before, so it was a big adjustment for me. So these are all the things you have to consider. All of these things,
Yeah.
before you come.
Yeah. Okay. So there are options, and then you just have to look for the one that best fits you.
Thank you.
So let's circle back to the motivation letter. What do you think made you stand out? Even though I keep on mentioning your background in computer science, but what do you think made you stand out? And how did you demonstrate impact?
Mm-hmm.
Um, being as still being an undergrad in a non-creative field, how did you demonstrate impact, and what do you think made you stand out in your motivation letter?
Okay. Well, I would say first of all that's like before they get to that letter, like most of the time they read the writing samples first. So I'm just going to
Mm,
harp on that. The writing sample is the
yeah.
most important thing. Because
Okay.
if they don't like a writing sample, they won't read your personal
Oh,
statements.
okay.
So usually what happens is they will read all the writing samples first and get a short list before they now
Mm,
use the personal
oh,
statement.
okay. Okay.
Short list, that short list.
Okay.
That's as far as I know. I could be
Okay.
wrong, but that's as far as I
Mm,
know, and I
mm,
think I'm right about that. So first off, make sure that that sample is very, very, very strong. But then for the letter, I think for me, I think I was just honest as possible because see, with
mm,
those personal statements, sometimes you read some personal statements, they are trying to be all way, like be honest, be straight to the point. That's not the place where you're now coming to show your writing. Do you get what I mean?
mm.
Like you can do that. You can
Yeah.
do that. It's
Yeah.
part. It's part.
Yeah.
But make sure that's not the only thing you're like. You have to
Yeah.
be as specific as possible. And one thing you shouldn't do is make it look like you are begging for the like
Mm,
you have to show that you know that you are
yeah.
good and you
Yeah.
are asking the school to pick you because you are
Yeah.
good, right?
Yeah.
So even when you're approaching your letter, you approach it from a standpoint of like I have done this, I have done this, I've written for this long, da 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 da. Da. I'm good at this, I'm good at that. I feel
Mm,
like that would be a good fit for me, that kind of thing.
mm.
You don't want it to look like you are, oh, Miss Rel, please, maybe no,
Pick
they want
me, choose me.
choose me, love me, like no.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you want to show
Yeah.
that, yeah. So I think being confident, like in the thing is important, and being showing that you are very aware of yourself and aware of your skills as
Mm,
well. You
mm,
have also being honest about what you are good at, and then also being honest about what you feel like you could learn. Because in the end, you are coming here to learn. So be honest about like what you feel like you could learn and how that program can help you. And then definitely I think what might have helped my statements really was the fact that I wrote about my background. I wrote about my background in writing, how long I've been doing it, how I came to it, and what this really means to me. I was
mm,
like, what this really
mm,
means to me as a writer,
mm,
as a human being, and what I intend to do with this MFA when I'm done. Like I said,
mm.
yeah, like my goal really is to become an established novelist. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is why I'm coming here. I
Yeah.
want to finish and then get the opportunities. And I'm also interested in teaching, and then teaching is a good opportunity. So showing that you also know where you are headed
Yeah.
with everything is very important.
Mm,
Writing
mm,
also specifically about like the research you would do, what you want to write about, and
mm.
stuff like that, and then the people that you want to work with.
Work with, yeah.
Why you think that the school is important, and the books that you like to read. I think that's like
Mm, mm.
writers that you like to read. I think
Okay.
they like that just to also be able to maybe compare your work or see your
Mm,
influences. And I think it's important to be clear about your background in creative writing,
mm,
and be clear about where you are headed with
mm.
your intentions for what you want
Yeah.
to research and write once you
Yeah.
come there.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So I think we've covered everything on how to apply and how the process is like. So you mentioned the deadline to apply is 15th
It's
December.
usually 15 December.
Mm,
Some schools might extend to January, but
mm.
just apply by the end
Yeah,
of the year.
and
Done.
yeah.
you know,
And they'll
Mhm.
get back to you around February then.
February, March, April,
Mm. And then the program starts in September or
August.
August. Oh, okay. And I think that's ample time. We're in March now, so if you are interested, then you could start gathering your documents and maybe writing your sample, your short story sample. and contacting referees because I think they are the most like they could be the biggest hurdle in application because you can be ready and they are not. So yeah. And I think we're getting to the end of the session, but do you have any advice for someone who wants to apply for this next year's cohort for the next application cycle? Do you have any advice for someone like that?
Yeah, for sure. I think two things. First off, make sure you try and get application waivers, because if you are having a list of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 schools that you want to apply to, most of them the application $50 here, $100 here,
Mm,
$70. It's expensive.
mm,
So immediately email the university and be like, "Hi, I come from a low income background. I don't have money. Can I
yes,
get a free waiver?" Just be
yeah,
honest about it, and most of the time they'll give you a free waiver.
yeah.
Unfortunately, the University of Iowa, the Iowa Writers Workshop, they don't give fee waivers.
Mm,
They don't
okay.
give fee waivers, unfortunately. But then a lot of schools do. A lot,
That's true.
a lot of schools do. So just get in there and then just email. You can
Mm,
also usually the information about waivers and stuff is on their
yeah.
website. So look that
Mm,
up first. See the
mm,
categories that you, even if you don't fall into the categories that they list over there, still email them.
yeah, that's
Don't,
true.
I ain't got the
Yeah.
money. please, please.
Help, help, help
Yeah.
someone out. And I
I'll
also
help you
have
out.
a sample. I have a fee waiver sample that when I was also in this journey of applying and I was looking at US schools, I applied so much for fee waivers. I had a sample put down. So
Oh,
if I see that the school has a fee waiver option, and I email them. So if you are
uh-huh.
interested in such a sample, you
Think
can
it's good
just
to go
yeah,
and look at. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. And then I think my main thing really with the the writing sample that you will turn in, and your statements and all of that, is start early. We're in March right now. I'm sure this video is going up at least by the end of the month. Start early, start right now, start thinking about the work that you are going to submit. If you are picking up something you've already written and you are dusting it off, edit it. If you are now working on something new, you have enough time to write and edit. Look for people that will be honest with you about their work and give them your work for feedback. Don't send it to your friends who will just be like, "Oh my God, you're such a great writer. You're gonna get in." You need to have people that are
Yeah.
honest with you, tell you
Mm,
honest with you,
mm,
and work on it, work on it, work on it, so you are sure that
mm,
this thing is, as if when the
mm,
people are reading it, they're going to be like, "Yeah, we need this person in the program."
mm,
So edit, 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 edit.
mm.
Work on, start early, don't wait till the last minute. But if you do end up waiting to the last minute because of the life circumstances, that is still okay. Just still submit anyway, because you never know.
Yeah, you
Um,
never know.
yeah, exactly. And then even when I was saying applying to trying to submit to places and stuff, I think if you are able to enter into maybe some kind of mentorship, if you're also able to apply to some kind of mentorship program or some kind of workshop, it helps. For example, there's this mentorship program that happens somewhere in the middle of the year called the Spring Mentorship Program. It's for writers from Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia, and I think South Africa. So what they do is when you apply, they pair you with a mentor over 6 weeks. You guys work on a lot of readings, writing exercises. So you can use that as an opportunity to prepare your MFA application. And a
Okay.
lot of people who do the mentorships are also people who have gone through MFA programs. So you can talk to them about intending to apply and
Mm,
stuff like that. So
yeah.
I'll send you a link. You can
All
put
the
it
links. Yeah. Thank you.
apply to Spring Mentorship. Creators Project Ghana that I had mentioned too, they do some workshops sometimes, I
Mm,
think. Or well, actually they just started doing some. They've done one
yeah.
up
Yeah.
with Aisha Haruna Atta on historical fiction and stuff. So look out and see stuff like that, so that you have an opportunity. So you see
Yeah.
now two things. You get to improve your sample for the application, and you also
Yeah.
now have something you can put on your CV that's,
Yeah.
oh, I
Your
did.
CV. Yeah.
Exactly. So edit, 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 start early, and yeah, it should be fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experience in applying and how it went for you. I'm sure someone who is watching has been encouraged to give it a shot.
Yeah,
And yeah,
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 and just like don't reject yourself. Just like you can't know if they are going to pick you or not.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
can't say, "Oh, I think I'm not good enough," because it happens a lot. You feel like you're not good enough. So many people are applying, but you really just like don't reject yourself first. You allow the
yeah,
school to reject you. They are going to
yeah,
reject you. But don't
Yeah,
self reject. Just
yeah,
prepare
it's
yourself
true.
and gather your money, submit your stuff, and wait and see how it turns out.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. And really,
Like,
yeah. So yeah, thank you. Have a nice day.